Hey, this is Lama Rod, and this video is for any of you who identify spiritual teachers, guides, mentors, or elders, anyone who is actively helping folks to connect to the more than human experience or the more than human realms. This video is for you. And I'm doing this to ask you to start speaking out. And particularly for those of you who haven't spoken out, for those of you who have been hesitant, who've been a little ambiguous about where they stand, I think this is the time to do it. We're living in a real chaotic moment of real violence, of real systemic collapse, right? As fascism really begins to overwhelm our communities. And we need to be using our practice to support folks right now. And we need to be using our practice to, to really embody a fearlessness right now. And I know so many of us were trained in our lineages and modalities and traditions to keep politics and practice separate. And I think that's a particular kind of privilege that we no longer have right now. To separate spiritual practice and politics actually makes us a tool of fascism and oppression, right? I have never believed that in my practice and all the traditions that I'm trained in and initiated in particularly Buddhism. I've never believed that my practice was separate than my political reality, the political reality of living with folks and being governed by laws and policies that can be fair, but can also be quite unfair. Right? I've never believed that my practice was to create a separate little world for me to be happy in. I came in to Buddhism. I converted to Buddhism from Christianity because I needed a modality, a practice, a tradition that resourced me enough to tell the truth about what I was experiencing in this body, in this skin, right? In my identities. I needed a practice to help me to cultivate and open up the space for me to not just survive, but to thrive. And in that thriving, really beginning to understand that the point of being embodied is to love and to be present, to be aware, to help, right? My ultimate ethic is to be of help, to be of benefit. My practice helps me to do that. And to be of benefit right now, it is important for us to tell the truth about what is happening, particularly in the United States and in many countries around the world, including Sudan and the Congo and Palestine and Haiti and so forth, right? To tell the truth about the real violence that's happening, and then just returning back to our practice and then asking our practice actually asking our practice and trusting our practice to support us and actually really standing up, right, and embodying a kind of truth telling, right? um if we're not telling the truth about this moment, then we're bypassing the moment. That bypassing of this moment of what's actually happening in our world and in our lives is just another act of violence. It is another layer of delusion that we add to the truth, right? And we become dangerous for ourselves. We become dangerous for others who are seeking us out for spiritual guidance and support, right? And I know so many folks are saying, well, I don't know how to speak out. I don't understand, right? I'm not informed. I'm not studied enough. And I think that's fine. I think this is where we begin to educate ourselves. This is where we begin to read. This is where we begin to be in conversation. This is where we start getting involved with local organizations and groups and communities who are doing this work, right? And then, some people say, well, if I start talking about politics, if I start talking about what's happening in this moment, I will lose my support. And I think that's a risk that is important to take, right? Because if we don't speak out, and if we're not doing our part to really help people get free from these systems, then we are actually a part of the violence of the systems, and we will regret that. And that is the antithesis to liberatory spiritual practice right now. And this is something that I've been doing for many years. I was an activist even before I converted to Buddhism. And so justice is one of my first languages, right? Spirituality is probably my second language, right? But I was very fluent in in justice, before coming into holding the seat as a teacher. Um, so it's been a little easy, right, for me, but it's not impossible if you have a different experience. This is where we have to start learning and educating ourselves. This is where we have to start embodying a real kind of vulnerability. Vulnerability is where real spiritual awakening and realization happens, right? And if we're not actively talking about politics, then at least we should be opening up space, offering space for our communities, our practitioners and students and so forth, to have space and time for them to express how they're feeling, right? Before you start the yoga class, before you start your asana practice with folks, like have a 10-minute check-in, ask people how they're doing, hold that space, just be present. You don't have to say anything, you just have to show up, right? You just have to hold the space and offer some empathy, right? To let folks know that, like, yeah, you're in this too. I mean, that's all this really is like really helping our communities, our students understand that they're not alone. Even if you don't understand, right? You understand enough about yourself that you're also feeling anxiety and fear, and instability, right? And to express that, right, and to be vulnerable around that can be really powerful medicine that we offer our communities, right? But if we're not doing our work right now, if we're not using our platforms, our teachings, our guidance to really help people to confront this moment and to really embody a real ethic of deep love, compassion, fierceness, and fearlessness to meet this moment, then we're part of the problem, right? We are part of this fascist machine, right? And I refuse to be a part of a machine of violence anymore. I hope you can join me in this.